Hi all, today we're going to be talking about the CB-200, a gun that I've been flip-flopping on for the entire part of my rack team so far, and one that I continue to see myself flip-flopping on, so we're making the review now. So the CB-200 is your heavy damage carbine on NSO. It's a 577 RPM at 167 damage, dropping to 125. Muzzle velocity is pretty decent at 525 meters a second. Reload speeds are pretty good at 2.5 long, 1.85 short. Ammunition size is pretty standard at 25 rounds, and hip accuracy is fine, and aim accuracy is pretty good. I know I got all this out of the way really fast, but I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about how I can't decide what I think of this gun. So we're getting all this out of the way to begin with. So, the CB-200 does fill the long-range carbine role within the NSO. Obviously, you have your starter CB-100 that's well-rounded, you have your X75 that's for your close-range battles, and the 200 therefore makes up your long-range combat. However, it feels weird in that it feels like both a close-range, hard-hitting weapon and a long-range, hard-hitting weapon, but not very good at either. And we'll get into that pretty shortly. So in the way of attachments, there's really two ways you can build this thing. I would stick a 2x on it, no matter what you do, because any higher and the recoil feels abhorrent, any lower and you feel too painful at range. For the barrel, this is where you pick. Do you go for range build, or do you go for close range build? Like, do you go long range or short range? If you're going long range, you take the compensator. It just makes the recoil better. And if you're aiming down sights anyway, you don't really care about the hipfire penalty. If you're going for close range, pick short barrel, obviously. On the rail slot, now, this is probably the largest part of why I can't decide how I feel about this gun. There's a lot of options here, and honestly, none of these feel that good. So the laser sight is great if you're playing close range, but then your recoil pattern is kind of uncomfortable and weird, which makes it feel really shit at long range. The grip makes the recoil better, but then your hipfire is just kind of okay at best, and it feels kind of shitty at close range. The angled grip just doesn't really help you in any way, because this gun doesn't have a strong vertical pull, and I find the horizontal recoil hurts more. As for the other options, the extended mag is just straight up not worth it. You don't need 5 more rounds in this thing. The underbarrel shotgun I could see working, but it's not really a weapon that would favor such close-range play with an underbarrel shotgun, so I probably wouldn't recommend it. And in the ammo slot, I honestly believe soft point ammo is just straight up better no matter the situation. You get 5 more meters of 167 range, which is huge for your 3-shot kill range. Base, you get 20 meters of 3-shot kill range if you're headshotting, and then just 4 past that if you're headshotting. I highly recommend taking soft point no matter what. Despite it being a long-range carbine, I would skip high velocity altogether. So, of course, the way we do things, we're going to do some live play. Because this is how I do my videos for my reviews. I don't do edits. So, the CB-200 is a gun that I really cannot make my mind up on. As I alluded to already with the barrels in the underbarrel discussion, I can't decide if I want it to be a long-range or a close-range carbine. Because here's the thing. At long range, the recoil pattern feels wonky even with the full recoil build. For some reason, maybe it's a skill issue on my part, it very well could be, the recoil feels uncomfortable. I haven't been able to get down the horizontal recoil, and it just doesn't feel that good. And sure, it's a 167 carbine, but it still drops pretty hard, and with the aforementioned poor recoil, it just doesn't feel all that effective at long range, because you're only hitting for 125 at extreme long range, and if you're doing that, well, you know, you have other guns, like the NS11, or the NS11C. So it feels weird at long range. It doesn't feel bad, and out of the 3 NSO-specific carbines, I would probably say it's the best of the 3 at long range. But it doesn't feel that good. And in close range, you get the massive 20 meters of 167 range, which is huge if you could hipfire, and that's why the laser sight and short barrel build works so well. But then your recoil's just really shit, and past those close ranges, if you can't hipfire someone, the gun just doesn't feel good to use in any way. It really feels weird. I can't really liken it to any other carbine that I've used for a serious amount of time, because it just feels so conflicted on what it wants to be. Its damage model indicates that it wants to be a high-damage, long-range carbine. Thanks to its rate of fire, its fall-off range, everything. It wants to be a long-range carbine. But the recoil doesn't feel comfortable enough to actually use the carbine at the ranges where said range advantage would matter over the other NSO carbines. So it just feels kind of awkward. It feels really awkward to use. It's not bad, it's just a very awkward feeling carbine. That I honestly, sure I haven't Araximed it yet, so you may want to call me out on my shit, but I cannot see myself using this gun over anything else once I have the Araxime on it. And I know I'm already, like, an Araxium-driven player. Obviously, I drop most guns as soon as I rax them. But even for the regular player, unless you're chasing the Newton, I can't think of a situation where you would bring this gun. Because, honestly, it's just okay at long range. But if you spec into long range, then your short range is also just okay, and then you're just left with a mediocre feeling carbine, much like the regular CB-100. And if you build it for short range, sure, it hits hard, but then you have the absolute godlike CB-75 right next to it. It feels strange. And I'm going to keep repeating myself, because that's the way I do things here. That's how we do live takes. Obviously, I don't have a script, so you're going to get my thoughts as they come. Like, obviously I'm doing okay with it. I mean, I'm 11-4, which is not that bad. But I still can't deny... I just got roadkilled. That's unfortunate. It just feels strange. It really just feels really strange. It doesn't feel like a long-range carbine. It doesn't feel like a short-range carbine. And because of this, it doesn't really feel like a mid-range carbine either. Like, the CB-100 is at least kind of decent in the mid-range for being such a weird weapon. Maybe it would be better if the CB-75 just straight up didn't exist, that overshadowed this thing in pretty much all ways. Like, it's fine. But honestly, even if you're, say, a newer player, and you just want to have a long-range carbine available, I can't recommend it for that role. If you're doing the Newton, then you don't have a choice, so my opinion pretty much doesn't matter, because you have to Araxium it anyway. So... I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's just okay. It's just okay. I guess I should do a review, because that's the tradition, I suppose. Yeah, it's fine. It just feels weird. It doesn't feel like a long-range carbine. It doesn't feel like a short-range carbine. No matter what way you go on your attachments, you're always going to think, oh boy, I wish I had the laser and a short barrel here. Or, oh boy, my recoil sucks, why didn't I take the grip? You feel like you're always picking the wrong attachment for the situation. And it's just not that good of a weapon out of the gate by itself to make it worth picking over the X75 in 95% of situations. Unless you're a literal god and can headshot consistently and reliably. Yeah. It's hard to recommend. It's really, really hard to recommend. It's not bad. It's just... it's a carbine. It's another Nanite Systems weapon, or rather a Nanite Systems operative weapon on NSO, that's not very good and is easily outshined by another weapon that just does its job better. Welcome to the NSO arsenal, folks. I hope you enjoy your stay.